Hi there, Gareth O'Shea, John here, counterintuition.com. It's August 18th. This is going to be a quick one. I'm just addressing voting in general. This is the 11 reasons why you should vote today. Debunked. I've picked out 11 reasons you should vote today. It's on a website called dosomething.org, and it's just a top list of why you should vote. Some of these are kind of trivial, but I think they represent a good bit of the first hits on Google. I spent a few hours looking for a decent list of people who are defending voting and why should you vote, and these pretty much sum up all the points that were coming up on all the other lists, except for number one. So I'll fly straight into it. Number one, you earn a special I voted badge on Foursquare. I think I don't need to really say anything about that. That's kind of trivial. It's kind of a joke. Number two, if you don't exercise the right to vote, you'll be a hypocrite when you complain about politics. This includes healthcare and financial aid. So this is one of the arguments I hear all the time, and it's absolutely ridiculous because you can't take it and apply it elsewhere. It's just something that you really only hear in voting when it comes to voting. So, if you don't vote for somebody, then you don't get to complain. Now, the problem, of course, is that, okay, so you have two candidates and you don't want either of them. If you vote for one of them, you're still accepting the outcome. So as soon as you vote, you are accepting the terms, and the terms of democracy are you get a group of people to all make a decision about a particular thing or a particular candidate, whether they should be in charge or not, and whoever gets the most votes wins. Those are the terms, right? Whereas if you don't vote at all, you are not partaking in a system that you think is like I could hold a vote tomorrow and say I'm going to take €20 off everybody in my neighborhood. And if you don't vote, you don't have a right to complain. Well, that's nonsense. Number three, you vote for your favorite TV show, non-profit organization, and sports team all the time. True. I guess what they're talking about there is with the TV show, your ratings, your non-profit organization with money, and your sports team with buying merchandise and turning out to the games. That's true, but that's not something that affects you if you don't partake in it. So if I don't vote, I still get taxed and I still have to submit to the rules of the people I didn't vote for. Whereas if I don't watch a TV show, I get to have that time and do other stuff with it. If I don't spend the money on the non-profit organization, I get to keep that money, put it elsewhere. If I don't turn out to a sports team, I get to, again, or a sports game, I get to spend time with my family or playing video games or doing anything else in the world. But that, and not buying their merchandise again, I would have money for other things. So, yeah, absolutely. You vote for your favorite TV show, nonprofit, and sports team, but that's really not an argument for voting for democracy, because there are reasons for all that. I watch my TV show because I enjoy it. I want to fund a nonprofit because I like what they're doing. I go to my sports games or buy their merchandise because I enjoy that. Whereas there really is no compelling reason why I should vote for one politician over another. Number four, whether you're from the rent is too high party or the Tea Party, you live in a country where every voice can be heard. Exercise your right. It's a very strange thing to say that exercising your right in voting gets your voice heard, because clearly the more people who vote, the less your voice is heard, surely. I mean, when I go out and I say something on my own, that's my voice being heard. Whereas if I get together with a million other people and we all just compromise down and dumb down all the things that we agree on, and then I still, whatever party it is, still doesn't get into government, I'm not really sure how. And like having your voice heard, what's the big deal about that anyway? I mean, if you got nothing good to say, which these political parties don't, they're just saying stuff like we should tax people more or we should tax people less. I don't see why anybody should go out to vote for that, especially because the ballots are secret, so your voice really isn't heard anyway. It's a amalgamated number, and it's lost when you have voting in small groups, 3 or 4 people. It has power. You have a voice in that. But when you're talking about millions and millions of people, that makes no sense. Your voice is not heard. Number 5, politicians decide our financial future, how much government support we'll get for college tuition, how many jobs will be available, and who will pay more taxes. Absolutely, that's true also. I'm not sure why that's an argument for voting. That's more an argument for incarcerating politicians, putting them on a spaceship, shooting them into space, putting them in prisons. That's the kind of thing you do when people steal money and promise it back out for support. It's extortion. They steal money and then they offer it back out. So voting isn't really going to... It doesn't really make sense to say, at least from a moral standpoint, it wouldn't make sense that you should vote because politicians decide our financial future. Murderers decide how many people they should murder. Should we vote for murderers? Or should we try and stop them from murdering. I think that would make a lot more sense. If politicians decide our financial future, they really shouldn't decide our financial future. You should decide your own financial future. Your family members, your employers, your employees. That's where your financial future comes from. For government to involve themselves in your financial future makes absolutely no sense, and it's completely morally illegitimate. Number 6, only 30% of voters will go out to the polls. Typically, if you go, that will make you cooler than 2/3 of the population. Okay, really? Again, murderers make up a very small minority. If you go out and murder somebody, does that make you cooler? No, I don't think so. If cool is defined by being a minority, then sure, that's a reason to vote. But that's hardly a intelligent thing to say. Number 7, we need more sane people on the news. Reporters might be interviewing people at the polls, and right now, no matter your political party, it seems like the news only shows the most extreme protesters and activists. This is your chance to represent the sane. Is it? First of all, sane people don't get on the news because that's not where ratings come from. Second of all, why do you want to get on and tell people what they should be doing with their life? I mean, that's what this comes down to. You get out and you vote and you say, we need to have more taxes on the rich, or we need to have less taxes on the rich, or we need to have more prisons, or we need to have less prisons, or, so what? Like, who cares? Who cares what you have to say? So, and I think, it's reflected now in the ratings for news in general, at least network television and cable. People are really not paying much attention to that anyway. Everyone's going to the internet for their news, so it really comes down to the comments on there. You don't need to go out to vote to have your voice heard on the news. Anyway, number 8, your grandparents will vote, and they'll cast their ballots based on Social Security and Medicare. Are you going to let grandma outdo you? That's a good point, actually. Old people do. They're the most politically active as a group because they have the most to gain from it. Young people have the least to gain from it because they're having their money stolen as they're productive, whereas older people are looking to consume that capital because, a lot of them invested in pension scams and medical insurance scams, and all that money's gone now, so they need to vote in order to get the children's money. But just because old people are stealing from young people, that's no reason for you to go in. And again, the solution to people stealing from young people, old people stealing from young people, is to not give money over. Now, I'm not suggesting not paying taxes here, but certainly look for a way of achieving that. If it's possible to not pay taxes, then don't. Number 9, when a guy turns 18, they have to register for the draft. If you're expected to defend your country, you should have a say about how it's run. Okay, bring up another completely immoral thing there. You have to register for the draft. This is America. This isn't really the case here in Ireland, or I'm pretty sure not in England. But saying that you have to you have to consent to being drafted overseas to shoot people that have done you no wrong, is in itself illegitimate. And so if you're expected to do that, then you should also vote. I mean, again, this is such a strange argument. I mean, it's just more aggression. It doesn't make any sense. Like, why, just because somebody gets beaten around the place by a big bully, are you saying that maybe they should vote for who gets to be the bully next year? I mean, or next 4 years, or next 7 years, or whatever. No, that's not the solution. The solution is we stop aggression, we stop violence. That's the bad stuff. So voting isn't going to fix that. Number 10, you need to beat out the single issue voters. Seriously, some people only vote based on who supports one issue. Kind of like how tween girls dominate the votes for the American Idol, who they think is the cutest. Okay. I'm not really sure how that beats out single issue voters, and I'm sure that the majority of voters are single issue voters, and the reason I would think that that's a thing, people don't spend a lot of time in politics, and rightly so. I think it's great that, more and more people are getting away from politics. It's fantastic. The lower and lower turnouts there are at these elections, it just fills me with encouragement. People actually have other things to do in their lives than study out who can steal from them the most efficiently, or who can give back stolen goods to them most effectively from everybody else's pockets. So you kind of have to pick one issue. If you're going to vote, then you're going to have to look for the one thing. It's a sales pitch. I mean, it's like anything else. There's got to be in business, it's your unique selling point. What's the one thing that makes your product different? Well, what's the one thing that makes me want to vote for this person? That's the majority of voters. I don't think you can beat out. And what's wrong with that when it comes to decisions? But of course, politicians are able to get themselves involved in every kind of policy under the sun. So, financial regulation, medicine, education, just everything. Like, they can just get in there and mess everything up. So they're clearly, obviously not qualified to take over the entire financial establishment or the entire health establishment. Nobody on earth. I mean, there isn't a single person on earth smart enough to take over that kind of a thing. And so for a voter to say, well, I don't know how to run health care, but I know someone who does. And, well, if you don't know how to run it, if you don't know how to make something like that work, how do you know who to vote for? So it's logically completely inconsistent. If you're not smart enough to run something like that, you're certainly not smart enough to pick out somebody who can do it for you. Number 11, there are worse ways to spend 10 minutes. Okay, I don't think I even need to say anything there. There are worse ways to spend 10 minutes. Sure, okay, that's still, there's no reason to do that. Funnily, in that whole list, 1 to 11, there is no active reason why you should do it. I remain thoroughly unconvinced that there is any kind of a good reason for voting. And you don't have a right to vote. You don't have a right to vote, because what voting is you trying, at least in theory, if it is what these people say it is, where you get to have your voice heard. Well, what is that voice achieving? And it's basically directing stolen capital. It's money that's been stolen from people through taxation. The reason it's stolen is because it's under the threat of punishment, under the threat of prison or fines or whatever. And so you're voting where that money should go, and you're voting the outcomes for other people's lives. I mean, you're voting on people who are going to determine the policy on medicine, the policy on education, the policy on prisons and law, the policies on foreign policy. I mean, all this stuff. You are picking out people and actively supporting people who have no idea how any of this stuff should work. Of course, I mean, they can't. It's not possible. That's just not how it works. You can't have people just in charge of everything. It just doesn't make any sense to do that. In the marketplace, they're in charge of what they're good at, and as soon as they start sucking at it, they have to leave. They get fired or they go bust or whatever. So whereas in government, when they start sucking, they get a promotion. They just move around. They're like, oh yeah, no, that was the previous party. I'm just trying to fix his problems and all this kind of stuff. Nonsense. So don't vote. It is completely criminal. It's a criminal thing to do. It's not so much criminal as it is supporting criminality. So thanks for listening. So head on over to counterintuition.com whenever you get a chance. There's loads more articles and podcasts and stuff. We're going to have loads more resources up there. Got some great stuff coming up this year for just in the next 6 months or so. We've got some more kind of active things we're going to be getting engaged in. So I'd love to, love you to come by and check that out. Get us on Twitter, get us on Facebook, YouTube. You can download the MP3 of this there. You can download tons more MP3s and just get loaded up. You're more than welcome. Just take it's all free content. Just get it and load yourself up with good arguments and good common sense, so that you can address people in the world when they come out with garbage ideas like this. So thanks so much for listening. Have a great day.